Welcome back to Kamen Review, episode 240. Time to count your sins. We're talking about the last 3 episodes officially released for Futo Pi, episodes 10 through 12. Yes, for these 3 episodes, unlike the first 9, we adapted pretty much the first 25 chapters in just 9 episodes. Yeah, and apparently the reason why that they decided to skip to this point is because apparently the production ran out of episodes, so just had to do these 3 episodes for the last 3. Because this 3-parter, yes, the ending of it does set up the events in the movie, which I'll do in the following video for this one. Probably tomorrow at this point. But in the case of what chapters these 3 episodes adapt, it adapts chapters 38 to 47. 10 chapters in 3 episodes. Which is not bad, actually. You're probably thinking, like, what about 26 to 36? Skipped. Because they ran out of... it's not manga. Normally they do this if they're on manga. No, this is basically they run out of episodes. They call this Core 1. But this came back in 2022, and there's not been any follow-up to it at all. The only kind of follow-up we had to it was, get this, so... the movie, which we'll talk about next episode, was only put on Crunchyroll just not even 3 months ago. It was fairly recent. As for the reason why they decided to just do this, I don't know. Like, as for why they couldn't do more episodes, that's a really good question. I would love to know the reason why they decided to just, like... they couldn't just extend it by a number of episodes just so they can adapt more of the manga. Because if you're curious, though, how much of the Futo Pi manga is left to adapt? Oh my gosh, it's a lot. Good gosh, it's a lot. I mean, the anime itself doesn't cover that much of the manga. Oh no, it does not. Like, so... if you look curious, like, how many chapters are there currently for this manga? The answer is a grand total of, as of currently, 175. Yeah, 175. And there's been no official English release of this manga. Do not know the reason for it, just hasn't. And if you're curious, like, well, in the case of the first 9 episodes, the chapters were collected, mostly put in the first 3 volumes of the collected volumes. And then, as in the case of these last 3 episodes, these were collected over the course of volumes 5. Well, just volume 5. Yeah, basically this covered like 1 volume. Yeah, and then the movie itself is basically covering volume 6. So, still plenty of manga. Oh, and the ants... okay, so... how long ago did the very first chapter come out? The very first chapter came out in 2017. So, roughly 9 years ago. So, throughout these 3 episodes, we get a little more hints on, of course, on the original character for this one, who is Tokumi. Yes, we actually get a little more info with her, where apparently she has connections to the Shadow Futo. And we also find out in the last episode that her memory that she's carried since episode 1, they do check her in the last episode. She does not have a like a port for it. She is not, but it's hers. Those are a couple little things we do find in this episode. So basically, the story for this one is that we have basically like this young 12-year-old girl who hires detectives to find her missing grandfather, which apparently the police don't take seriously. So after they got hired, of course so he apparently was hired by this mysterious mustache person to build this prototype. And we don't find out until episode 12 what the heck this thing is. Because what this is actually a prototype for a valve for something related to villains. That's always not gonna hurt anybody. Like, okay. So, and then of course look around, and then Tomoko is brought to Shadow Futo by a Silver Express card. Yes, and we do, and apparently, get this. So the big tower that the villains were standing on top of in episode 9, apparently in Futo on the other side, that is quite near the detective agency. And somehow Tomoko throughout this, when she's looking for a way to get back, she kind of figures out that basically because it's basically the shadow version of basically what we see in Rika Futo. She easily figures out where it is, and of course everyone's wondering where she is, and of course so hears her voice. So he and Excel basically, well, thanks to a portal opening up, and of course she's brought in by a Brachiosaurus, which we find out is actually a young kid who then used his ability to get her to strip. And you're like, is this kid a pervert? Apparently. Because like, oh, he wants to examine her. He's like younger than she is. And then she takes off her top, and she's about to take off her bra, and she's like, nope, I'm fighting back. And then finds the old man, and they get back to the real world. Meanwhile, though, the writers themselves, they do in fact fight this one guy who has a reactor depot. He's reactor, and of course he summons a bunch of road depots. They find him for quite a while. I'm like, that's Excel Trigger. So then he opens the portal himself to basically have them to leave. And so they goes back to the shrine. They find a device. They examine it. So, and then of course Tomoko and the old man, they get out basically the same portal as the two grunts who also built to use road depot for reasons. Yeah, why road depot, you might ask? Because it was the first monster to show in this series, so why not reuse it? So, and of course you have where Tomoko uses it, obviously. Excuse me. So, and they take him on in the real world, and then they beat him thanks to, well, first he used the Kamen sync, that kind of works, but then they find him again. Thanks to using extreme, Kamen double extreme. And they destroy his everything that way, but he's still alive thanks to him having superpowers. And then kills two guys. Then he dies in Shadow Futo, and then of course the guy in charge, Yuki, says probably should avoid the Kamen Riders for a little while. Opera plan. And I guess to be working like, okay, that's fine. So then of course basically that's when we have the whole thing with the Joker. And then of course Tomoko asks his question, like, because basically that's we find out that apparently Yukiro, his company, has connections to, first time mentioned in the show, Foundation X. And we see flashbacks to these people wearing white suits. We even see Utopia Depot. That was interesting. Yes, did not expect to see that in this show. Yes, I was not expecting that. It was definitely something that I was, like I said, not expecting. But something I just really enjoyed. You might think it was an air depot. Oh yeah, we do briefly see the weather depot in the flashback. Yes. Yeah. So, bitch. Oh yeah, she wants to know everything. She wants to know about the museum, the Gia memories. Oh, and basically, Philip just drops. Oh yeah, my father made these things. You're like, really? Yeah, really. And then she also wants to know how the adventures of Kamen began from the very beginning. So Shotaro basically it starts to tell her the events of Begins Night, and we get animated montage of elements from the prequel story that was shown in the very first Movie Wars movie. Yeah. with the whole backstory related to, well, the show itself, which basically, it's similar to the case of the first episode of the original show, and that's it. Really good. I thoroughly enjoyed Futo Pi. Yes, I know I got the movie left to go, but final thoughts on season 1. Amazing season. Kind of wish that it would have more episodes, because there was still plenty to adapt, because the manga publishing at that point for, at the time the anime started, for about 5 years. So you think like plenty of material to adapt. But apparently the studio's like, nope, we're going to do 12 episodes. Yeah, someone put this out online when I think it was Toshi was the commentator, where that was really for season 2, and someone pointed out though, how come this gets a season 2 but not Futo Pi? I didn't respond to it, but after watching it's like, good question. And I would love to know the answer to that. Yeah, I mean, there's still plenty to adapt for the manga. Oh gosh, yes. There is still plenty to adapt. There's no reason why there cannot be a season 2. Mm-hmm. You'd probably think, like, is it up to Toei for this one? Not necessarily, no. I would think it's more up to the studio, and I'm sure that I'm sure in the case of that, it probably be applied to the studio itself. And I'm sure that the creator himself of the manga probably be happy to see in their season of the show. But if you want to basically watch this at some point, this particular anime, I recommend watching this after you complete the entirety of Double. Like, watch all 40 episodes. Watch, well, technically, you could start with he did his debut in the All Riders versus Die Shocker, but it was a cameo. But if you want to start a story proper, you go through the entire 40 episodes, so you could probably do All Riders versus Die Shocker as sort of a side thing. There's like 2 main movies with the show. There's Movie Wars 2010, which that's where we get that sequence there. There is the movie for the show itself. There are 2 movies after the show, Kamen Eternal and Kamen Excel. There are 2 movies afterwards. There is Movie Wars 2011, which was O's and Double. There's Movie Wars 2012, in my opinion, the best one of the first 3 movies. Movie Wars 2012, which is Force A and O's. You got their story, and this show takes place right after that movie, and you could say that, well, possibly the appearance you see in live action afterwards is after the show. I could say yes, definitely, but watch Double first, because if you go this anime first before you watch Double, you'd probably be curious about it, but I would probably watch Double first. That's what I recommend. That's what I did, and I basically look forward to this, and I loved it. Yep, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up, a new review news chapter for One Piece, and then it's on to My Hero Academia. Okay, thanks, you. Bye.